Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Faith Family Focus, and it's another beautiful Monday here. I am Faith Suggs, your co-host, former Duke Boys basketball graduate, and current CEO and founder of Brand by Faith, a social media branding company dedicated to telling your story. And this wonderful man next to me is my father, Schaefer Suggs, with the former NFL player with the New York Jets and the Cincinnati Bengals, and has also served on the NFLPA Chicago and RPFPC Executive Board and as Vice President. Good morning, Dad. How are you?
Good morning, Faith. How are you?
Good.
You're a busy week, huh?
Busy week. Friday, Sunday, yes. Wonderful. How is the weather in Chicago, Illinois?
Well, we came from Miami. It was raining when I got here. It was rainy, but we have a beautiful morning today. It's supposed to be a little bit warmer, so I'm looking for a really nice week. We had a little tornado warnings last night, but right now the weather is perfect.
July. You never know what you're going to get with July. July is just like April for sure. No, wonderful to hear that. Yes, we did have a wonderful time in Miami. Isn't it funny how, all these people want to live in Florida? I was thinking this. All these people want to live in Florida, and it's beautiful, and everyone's so happy to live there. But the weather is quite unpredictable. It is not Los Angeles. Now, if I had to pick one or the other, I would pick Los Angeles. I was thinking this on my flight, but I get why Miami's retirement city. Well, Miami, Naples, Tallahassee, Orlando, all beautiful cities, but definitely a good time. I do want to say something, and I don't know, I forgot to mention this, but this young woman this past weekend, has just become the first American woman to win the shot put international title ever. We've never had a woman win the international shot put world title ever since its beginning in 1983. We've only won 17 times, and all of those times were men. But since 1983, an American woman has never won the shot put world title, and it happened this weekend on American soil for the first time ever. So I just wanted to say that. I thought that was pretty cool. Girl power, race and awareness.
At the World Championships, they also had two American women come first and second in pole vault. Almost.
That also doesn't happen.
Almost.
Wow.
That was really neat. So, a great weekend for sports. Great weekend for sports.
Have you seen when the pole I watched the other day? It was a woman from, I believe, Sweden. And this is like an inspirational story. They always run it every year around the World Championships. And her pole broke. It was for the win. I don't want to say it was for gold because I believe it was for the title. And it broke. And for me, that's when the activity would have stopped. I'm not going back at the pole vault. I am done because after the pole broke, I was good.
That happens a lot, though, Faith, in pole vault.
It
happens a lot. They bend that pole so much, but any pole vault, even your Uncle Clint, whose pole vault broke a pole before. So it happens. So that's normal. I know that you didn't know that, but it's normal.
No. I can see. I mean, I'm well educated. I understand physics. The pole's not supposed to bend that way. Okay.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not. If the pole was supposed to bend that way, it wouldn't be able to break. Now, here's what I will say. Do you have to be a certain weight to do pole vault?
Well, like you said, physics, yeah. In order to be able to navigate that sport, you need to be able to.
Is there a weight capacity for the pole? That's what I'm really asking you.
Yeah, there is. It's the pound, the pressure that's applied to it. I mean, the person can be very, very strong. So it's not about weight. It's about how much much pressure you put on that pole. Yeah.
God, it's so unbelievable.
You see pole vaulters are very lean athletes.
And long, yeah. Be able to, yeah. It's. I think that's one of the most courageous sports. Whenever I watch track and field in the Olympics, for sure. But yeah, I just wanted to make sure I had mentioned that. Because it's, very few oftentimes we get to say, go America, go. But that was a good, awesome time for us this weekend as women finally got on, the record book for shot put, which isn't, a sport many women get into, right? It's not not like pole vault. It's not like high jump, right? It's not like triple jump. It's shot put is something for power, and it's very impressive that she was able to take the win.
Well, it's been around for a long time. We just haven't won. That's all.
Yeah, 1983
Hmm.
is the first time that we as Americans entered the shot put competition.
Right. Right.
And since then, 17 men have won it. We've never had a woman win it. So, I got the stats for you. Just in case you wanted to know. Well, and then, another question is I have to dig into, but I wonder if 1983 is when America entered the shot put competition, or it's when American women entered the shot put competition, similar to how women.
No, it's when women entered. Shot
Yeah,
put's been around for a long time.
yeah.
Shot put,
Basketball.
javelin, and disc, all three of those sports, women came in a little bit later, but it's been something that's been very, very popular for women over the last 20 years to be participating in.
Yeah, it's not easy. I remember. I mean, I don't know. I actually thought I was pretty good at shot put, but as I look at how these women are starting to grow and how the professional women look, I'm
Hey,
like,
you shot put it, don't you remember?
that's what I just said.
Yeah, I
That's
didn't hear
what
you say
I
that.
said. Yeah, I said that, and I said as I look at the professionals, I can see how shot put didn't stick because I don't look like them. They look like they can, like, you know what I mean? Like they're shot putting. How much do they shot put? Was it 30,
Well,
40?
the man's world record is 75.
No. The weight. How much is the shot put weigh?
8 pounds and 10 pounds and 12 pounds.
Okay. I mean, I could have did it.
Right.
It's just I would have had to, get a little bulkier. That's what I was saying. But yeah, I had to just run that by you. I always like to give you some good news about sports if you missed it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Um, well, since you are our NFLPA representative and RPFPC representative, do you want to let us know, why we were in Miami before we
Yeah.
can go into what
Well,
it's
speaking,
all
if you
about?
can grab some pictures, that would be great. I want to actually start with a long week. We actually had our annual golf outing here locally, Chicago chapter. We had a great turnout on Tuesday. We had sold out foursomes. Um, again, it's our opportunity to give out our big scholarship winners. We had two amazing scholarship recipients. We're going to share this on our show behind the face mask this week. And then we had three great organizations win the youth grant program scholarships, and it was just an amazing opportunity. And for you to be a part of that, you're our social media director, was really really neat. Um, Very successful event, and then we turn around and we got a chance to be a part of the NFL former players summer getaway, and the goal for that was former players. This is the first time in almost 3 years that we've been able to come and celebrate a lot of different things. We had yoga. There was a bunch of breakout sessions. There's leadership sessions. There was physical therapy sessions, and then there were also exhibits, which is something that I'm very proud of. That because E360 TV, our broadcast channel, is now a partner with NFLPA, and you and I
Yeah.
had an opportunity to participate in that also, and show um, the players that there's a resource for them to have their own podcast. And I thought we had a tremendous amount uh, of, uh, of interest. I mean, that's a really nice picture. But it was a great weekend, and I know that you posted on Instagram me dancing, so I have gotten a lot of feedback from that. So thank you very much for that. But that was
Yeah.
that was. But how did you like it? Being around the former players, listening to some of their perspective, having some conversations, not necessarily around the E360 platform, but your dad being a former player, and then being able to listen to other former players' wives, and just kind of you being a part of that part of my life. How was your experience with that thing?
Yeah, very cool, very, very neat um, perspective to gather for sure. When you talk about professional sports talk, you don't really talk about the fraternity behind it that has to be built, because a lot of people who view professional sports can easily see how cutthroat it can be. And seeing you all come back to that, right? Even whether it retired you or you retired, it's very impressive that you all are able to gather that way and have the resources and services that were there. I mean, LinkedIn for athletes, building your own brand, compassion workshops, they're all great things. And also being allowing you all to be amongst different eras of
Yeah,
athletes,
decades. Yeah. Hmm.
right? And I think the NFLPA, while growing and still has many ways to go, as well as all PAs around the country, um, is doing a great job in building that space for you all to gather. And I think it's very neat. I think one of the biggest takeaways was how important it is for you guys to have those platforms and those experiences for you, because gosh, no one else can really see from your point of view or walk a mile in your shoes other than someone who's actually done it. So very neat perspective for sure. um, I would say, with attendance growing, I think it'll be even cooler too.
Yeah. Did you have one player that you spoke to that stood out the most? Did you got a chance to speak with and get perspective? Because there were some really neat. I mean, from different generations. We got a chance to obviously speak to some of the guys in the booth, but was there anybody that stood out?
No,
That you
all
met?
of them did. All of them did. I think one of the coolest thing is hearing the older guys um, say they played for teams that no longer exist. I think that one is always fun. You know what I mean? Like watching how the NFL has gradually changed over the years, right? Like we met a man at dinner who played for the Baltimore Colts, and many people who don't have an understanding of the NFL don't understand like where did the Baltimore Colts come from. When you have understand the history of it, it's very fun to see that up close and know like you physically can touch it. It happened. These people played for it, and and he was the second. He said he was the second black man. I can't remember what position he played, and they passed the number down to each other. That was very neat to me.
Tight
Um,
end.
right
Tight
here.
end. Yes. Yeah. John. Yeah. He played. He took a number 88 from John Mackey, and just he's actually 73 years old. So it was really nice for me because I was one of the older players. Then we had our hopefully new chapter president, Justin Staples, with his wonderful family, who was in his 30s, sit at the same
32.
table,
Mm,
so just a really wealth of perspective.
yeah.
One of I think you don't want to mention his name, but Martellus Bennett was a highlight because he was one of the speakers. And I know you got a chance to spend some time with him, but he's wrote many books. Do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, you just did. I think he's a great example of the athletes and how great you guys can take your platforms,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like beyond just athletics, beyond just football, tapping into every industry, whether it's music, whether it's books. We had a guy there who changed his name Soul, who he owns a yogi studio, right? There's all different types of things, these guys. So I think, yeah, Marty Bennett, these guys, you just get to really meet them and you're like, it's so inspiring to see them. It's not easy for athletes to step out of athletics. I will say that. And a lot of people don't understand that. But when you are dedicating your time 30, 40 years to something, it's easy for you to go into coaching. It's easy for you to go to public speaking, right? It's easy for you to do that. It's not easy for you to go into writing children's books or
Yeah.
studios or starting this or that, right? It's just for me seeing him and seeing like the guys around that era expand beyond just athletics is very neat to watch
Right.
and
Right.
experience.
Yeah, he was amazing. I mean, I asked him what was his favorite book he wrote. He said the next one.
Uh-huh.
Yes, that was really neat. I mean,
Yeah.
we can listen to him talk all the time. He is going to be a guest on our show very soon. Actually, we have a lot of potential guests that will be on our show as a result of us being there with E360 TV because we were able to get a lot of interest when the players saw that this could be a tremendous tool and vehicle for them to
Yeah.
share not only their story but also share their platform, their lives. There was a couple that was sitting with me that had gotten married while they were playing professional football, and they're still married. And I told them how amazing that was because, the chances of that, the percentages of that, of couples meeting during that time of their careers, and then having to deal with the aftermath of playing professional football, the being cut, dealing with
Mm-hmm.
the injuries, and for the woman, for the wife to be able to. And I spoke with her at length, man. She was amazing, but having to go there and then now navigate having 5 kids was pretty amazing. And I share with them at
Four.
my age, most of my 4 kids,
Four. Yep.
most of my friends who has been married, who got married during that time, have actually on their second or third marriages or wives. So it was pretty impressive to see that. That was also you may not understand the magnitude of it, but being there with family, having you there was important. But having their guys with their wives and then their kids dancing and
Mm-hmm.
doing it was just a wonderful thing to watch. It was just a great venue for this, and I can't wait for next year to go back and do it again because it was just a fabulous 2 or 3 days to bond and reconnect with other chapters too. There's other chapter presidents that were there. It was really really neat. So, um, some of the takeaways. I know we're going to share this, but there's one that I think may not resonate with maybe some of the things we'll talk about. But the one thing that really was powerful for me when we were in the business network was that for me, thinking about my life, thinking about my career, and making the transition phase was the statement was made that you want your time in professional football just to be a footnote as it relates to your entire life. And now I can kind of see that now where your professional career really doesn't define who you are today. And although it's a very important part of my life, it's not my life any longer. I mean, the nice thing about it being able to go back and connect with former players is that it actually resonates that message that most of these guys are there because they were former athletes and they've been able to elevate their lives to new careers and fathers, family members, and to be around that, this really uh, uh, um, represents what that statement means, that you want your professional career just to be a foot. And as we get older, some of the younger players who are fresh out of football may not see that right now, but as you get further down the road away from that part of your life, you begin to understand that. So that was something that I heard that was, and I think I've heard it before, but it really, for some reason, it really resonated with me a lot.
Yeah. No, I loved that too. And there's a lot of things that, you can take away from that as well. And when you talk about being a footnote in your story, it's like we talk about this all the time, is your life is a book. And it comes in, trials and tribulations come amongst the books and chapters and, footnotes and headers and titles and um even breaks. Books have breaks. You ever read a biography and it takes you through a break, right? That is a perfect quote or voice of reason for how you should look at your life and what you do with your life and how one thing does not determine everything else, right?
Right.
I do agree that the one thing that does stick with you through life is love and your belief in yourself, and I mean obviously family, but even family withers and waves, right, as the life goes on. And so um I love that quote for the idea and the perspective we always have for this show as well, is that what you do and at one point may not be everything in chapter
Hmm.
10, and chapter
Right.
10 may not hold everything in chapter 20.
Right. Right. You
But yeah,
know,
nice.
and being around it validates being around the other players, even at the different generations. It was the one in the business network panel is something that we always talk about, which I think is valuable. Is I love this, and you heard this before. You know, leverage who we are,
Yeah.
um, leverage who are, and don't in your network. I always build a network, but see, your network determines your net worth,
Yes.
and that was powerful. That we have to really leverage the NFL. I was telling Aaron Hymas, who E360 TV, that he didn't really understand the leverage that being a partner with the NFL has, right? Leverage that, and we have to leverage that as players with each other, and that's why it was so good to listen to that panel of different guys talk about their careers and how they're leveraging that. We have to continue to do that.
Yeah, and it's let's take that a step further in the sense, when you say network, it's not just from a business output. It's how, if no one cares about what you say to them, right? They care about how you make them feel,
Yeah,
right?
that's
And
true.
and I mentioned this many times this weekend. I said the Chick-fil-A effect, right? When you meet somebody, right? Look, I'll be honest with you. Chick-fil-A is good, right? The chicken tenders are good, the fries are good, the milkshakes are good. But what really people love about Chick-fil-A is that they're always, 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 no matter who it is, whether it's the chef to the person at the drive-through or the person taking your money at the register, they are always kind and happy and positive and always welcoming. And that, at the end of the day, brings you back. And
Yeah,
so
yeah,
that is, when you talk about networking, it's really about what impact am I leaving on people's life, and you'll be surprised on how that boosts your net worth of life.
yeah, right. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I like that's a very good point. Your network doesn't necessarily have to be a business, but also your values and what you actually
Tell
bring
you.
character-wise
Yeah. Why should
to the
somebody
table. I
want?
like that.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah, because think about how many people you meet a day, right? And then think about how many people actually leave a lasting impact on your life that day. Right? And imagine if you entered a space that you know is important, whether it's church, whether it's school, whether it's a network event for work. Imagine if you walked into it with the Chick-fil-A personality, right? The mentality that, okay, I'm in a space of service, right? You'll be surprised at how that boosts, who you are, how people view you, but also how you make people feel. And that really, 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 they say karma, or, what you put out comes back to you. You'll be surprised how that boosts not only you financially, but mentally, physically, spiritually, all those things.
Yeah, yeah. Here is something that maybe I don't know. You remember you talk about your transition out of college and going into the professional world. You made that transition, but learning to be humble and humility, and there was something that really was talked about in the business network that a lot of the guys that were up there had to fail, or they had to get to a point where they were had some fear, and be able to just ask for help, and always be, and that really hit me hard, but always, and that's why this is really good to go back to, always good to go back to people that understand you, right? And so humility was a big word that was used there, and the other one was establish your CPR. I like that, culture, people, relationships. In terms of the people that you want to surround yourself with. And I think you talk about that a lot. Is share your values of transparency, your integrity, all those different things as you develop the people around you. And that's within our fraternity of guys. And that's why it's so important that the younger guys come and hang out with the older guys so they can understand our journey, but also understand the stories of our vulnerability and some of the landmines and some of the potholes we hit. And then you have to be transparent. You have to be vulnerable to be able to share those things. And I thought that was something that really resonated too.
Isn't it funny how um isn't it funny
I
how
like that.
CPR is what keeps you like alive too? Like,
Yes.
let's think about, like, CPR comes at a space of often desperation, right? Like,
Yes.
is on like a moment of like teetering, like, right, like either they're gonna go this way or they're gonna go that way, and in a positive outlook trying to, but there's nothing positive about CPR. The It's funny that the things, right, you lead the things you need to lean into, culture, people, relationships, often comes at times when you need the most help and you need a redirect, right? Or you're at a brick wall, you're at a fork in the road, you have no idea which direction to go. Who you lean on is what matters the most.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that matters the most. So that's why, I mean, for me, it was CPR. It's like, yeah, you can culture, people, relationships. You can put a bunch of letters together and make it that too. But CPR for me leaves a lasting impact, because CPR very much is, You have to learn CPR to teach. You have to learn CPR to coach. You have to learn CPR to be a boss, right? All of these things you have to have the humility to lean into in order for you to be a good leader. Morning, George,
Morning, George. Yes.
one of our former guests. Um, but yeah, so there's a few slides we want to talk to, and today we really wanted to dedicate our time to perspective and how we look at life and how, how your outlook in life really impacts your mental being, your physical well-being, and also the people around you.
Right.
So I'm gonna, we're gonna dive into our first one. We have 4 slides, and we're gonna spend some time with each one. But Dad, why don't you take a ride at this one?
Oh, I love this. Don't let doubt have a seat at your couch.
Yep.
Yeah. So, that gets back to being fearless and not allow it to live rent free inside your brain. That actually paralyzes your progression, your start, because of your doubt. And I love that. Don't let doubt be in your couch. And that's something that I think I kind of hopefully lean into all the time. I hope I was able to coach that and instill that in you and Devin. But as you well know, it takes a while. You have to go through some failure and overcome some failure, because when that happens, you begin more confident, right?
Mm-hmm.
And doubt will sit there, but don't let it linger. Don't let
Yeah.
it linger.
I think doubt can be, and everyone knows this, but doubt is paralyzing.
Yes.
Um, but it's also extremely human. And so
Yeah.
you have to find the healthy benefit of giving yourself grace and allowing yourself, okay, I'm having a moment of not weakness, but a moment of doubt. And that very moment provides me perspective on, okay, why am I having doubt in this situation? What part of me do I need to build up to strengthen so that doubt doesn't stay here in this space? Right. So, and a lot of people say like every relationship, every interaction, every feeling you have is a mirror to yourself. Right. So, how someone else makes you feel, how a situation makes you feel is something to say about yourself. And so, if you're having doubt towards a large event, you have a doubt towards a speaking engagement, if you have a doubt towards a test, right? Okay, am I prepared? Okay, am I comfortable? Right? What can I do better to make myself less doubt? Right? And so I think that that's when I look at it, it's like, okay, don't let doubt have a seat on your couch, right? But what is doubt? Right? Doubt is something that's so human. We talk about humility over the show. It's so human. It's something that we all feel. But how can I do my part in preventing doubt from having a lingering effect? Right? And so when I think of doubt, I think a lot of people doubt their ability, and they don't believe in themselves, right? Or maybe they do, but for some reason doubt is continues to linger. And I think that what that says to you is, how can I over prepare? How can I communicate to others? How can I use CPR, right? How can I lean on my circle to help move doubt off my couch? And so that's what it thinks to me is what does doubt? I mean, because doubt is such a heavy word, right? That if it wasn't such a well used word, that's how I know everyone feels it towards everything. People are probably going to doubt themselves 4 times today, right? But it's up to you to bite that in the dust, right? And stop it early, okay? And that may come from, okay, if I have a test tomorrow and I know I'm not going to do well. That's doubt, right? You may sound sure, but it's still doubt because you don't know what your ability can do until you really push it to its extent.
So also, as an athlete, you're less doubtful when you're prepared. You're more prepared. You practice. That comes from not being prepared.
Yep.
So I think a lot of it has to do with just not being prepared.
Yeah.
And making sure that, because I think you get a reprieve. You get a reprieve based off your ability to be prepared. If you're not prepared, you got to be doubtful. Now, I think that lingering effect is you sit at the free throw line. If you're doubtful, more than likely you're going to miss that free throw.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So how do you get to a point where it's almost automatic, where it's like there's no doubt? How do you eliminate doubt? That's over preparation, I think. Right.
Yeah. You know what's funny? Has he ever been so over prepared and you still doubt? You know what I mean? Have you ever been so over prepared. And I'll say this, I have a love, and people know me, I have a love-hate relationship with mathematics. No question, right? But the reason I love it sometimes is because when you over prepare for math, when you look at these problems you've seen, 1 + 1 is 2, 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 right? So if 2 - 1 is 1, because 1 + 1 is 2. If you continuously do that to yourself, you felt your courage building and building and building. But going into the test, you still feel like, I still have a little tinge of doubt. I don't know what it is. Why can I get over it? And that is what I'm kind of talking about. It's like when you look in the mirror, like, okay, so it's not that I'm not prepared, right? Because I did over prepare this time. Why am I still doubting myself? It's because when you create consistency with preparing, right? You can continuously try to fight and diminish doubt as you go. So maybe you have a little bit of doubt, not like 10% of doubt on test 1. But on test 2 or game 3, you consistently train and practice the same way you did for test 1 for test 2 or game 3. Somehow you can try to fight doubt a little bit more, because you can still 100% have doubt and you are so well prepared that you're going to ace this test. But, like we say, if life was easy, everyone could do it, right? The big part of life is your mental ability to fight those doubts, even when you do everything you can to do it, right? So,
well, I knew that you were beginning to love mathematics when you called me up and said, "Dad, I need something to help me manage my money." So it gets you quickened. So that means that you're liking mathematics a little bit better, because now you see the benefit of it. That you
yeah.
need something to manage
Well,
the money.
don't you like when math makes sense? That's it.
Right,
When it doesn't make sense, it's not fun,
right,
right? It's like when you actually study for the test, man, you go into that math test like, gosh, I'm so excited for math
right.
class today.
Oh, you just
When you
pivot
don't
away from it.
prepare, you'd be like, ugh, gosh. But that's like the life. That's doubt and preparation can go hand in hand, right? One can beat the other if you know what I
Right.
mean, right?
No,
Without
that's a good. That's a
preparation,
good.
you can't
That's
beat
a good
doubt.
topic.
Yeah.
What's next?
Okay. Get your mind going in the right direction, and your life will go in the right direction.
I'll
What
let
people
you talk about that.
think
Get
on
your
that one?
mind going in the right direction, and your life will go in the right direction.
I'm gonna let people think on that for a second as I and your life will go in the right direction. I like that one.
hmm
Save. Alrighty. What's more powerful, do you think, your mind or your body?
Your mind.
When I was watching something the other day with cancer patients when they go through chemo, there's this thing called holistic medicine, right? And holistic medicine is, essential oils, or, it's a sauna, or it's a sweat lodge, or it's, all these things. We actually spoke about it this weekend. And
Sorry about that.
holistic medicine, a lot of the times, is trying to boost the well-being of your body, but also your mind, putting you at a space of ultimate relaxation. Because what people don't understand is when your body's going through stress, when your mind is going through stress, it puts stress on your body. And your body can't heal itself when it's stressed. That's a known fact, right? As women, particularly, and stressors can be, work, it could be the food you eat, it could be anything, right? It could be sugar. Stress comes from sugar. Your mind leads your body from how you heal, from how you think, from how you move, how fast and how well you perform. So if you are able to dedicate your mind, and this is kind of the idea of manifestation, right? And we talked about this, allowing yourself to imagine the best outcome of your situation, you'll be surprised at how beneficial that has on the outcome. If I
For
go
your
into
life.
the
Yeah.
test on your life, if I go into the test thinking I can do this, right? There's no room for doubt. No room for doubt, because I have no place in my mind for it. So through the whole time of the test, I know A, B, A, B, D, C. And there's no doubt in there because I'm so focused on knowing that I'm going to do a good job. As soon as you allow a smidge of doubt, like we said, right, to creep in there, you start to be like, while A may be right, gosh, D looks really similar, right? You get that one wrong, right? And so allowing your mind to go in the right direction, you'll be surprised at how it impacts the actual direction of your life.
Yeah. And think about that segues, and I don't want to go in that direction, but the people that impacts that, making sure you're around people that nurture that, you know, nurture positivity in your life, right? You know, so negative thoughts, get your mind right, you know. I like that a lot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of your life depends on, it depends on how you think. What wakes you up in the morning? Your mind.
Yeah.
What gets you out of bed in the morning? Your mind. And what tells you to brush your teeth? Your mind, right? And all three of those things impact how you make money, how good of a spouse, father, mother, sibling you are, right? And how your day is going to go. Simple as that. When your mind chooses not to have breakfast, it determines how smoothly your morning's going to go until lunch. It's just that simple. We put all these, lessons and plans in place and tell people this is the routine you should have and this is and that. But all that is garbage if your mind doesn't commit to it.
You know, that leads into negativity, right? You know, that's that negativity, you know. So what do we replace that negativity with? With positive thoughts, right?
Well, why don't I just bring up that slide?
Oh, that's it. That's why we have it after this one, right? Because
we're here now.
That's why
we're here now.
Erase it and place it, right? I love it.
But yeah, so get your mind going in the right direction and your life will go in the right direction. And so our next one is, like we said, what do you do with negative thoughts? And since you were so excited for that one, why don't you take that one?
Right. But you don't linger on it. I mean, negative thoughts can, again, paralyze you. And, you know, don't allow it. I always use that term. Don't allow it to live rent free inside you. Don't let it linger. Evict it, but evict it. Don't evict it with a vacuum. Evict it with something positive, right? Continue to evict it and replace it. Just don't get rid of it, but replace it.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's working out, whether it's yoga, whether it's reading the Bible, something positive that nurtures your development, right?
Yeah, there's something I want to touch on, and you could touch on it as well. It's like, when I was in college my freshman year, I took psychology of addiction, right? Alcohol and drug addiction. And we had the opportunity to go and visit a recovery center, a 2-year recovery center right in Durham down the street from Duke. And it's a 2-year process. And when you first move in, your entire day is filled with work, right? And as you get stronger, your hours diminish more and you have more free time. That opened my eyes to how powerful empty space is in our lives and how powerful it is for you to fill spaces with correct and positive behavior and activities.
And people.
Yes, and people. Well, that's another thing they say. When you're there, they tell you obviously they don't want you to date there because you can become another person for 2 years.
Right.
But when you're there, it shows you how powerful it is that your mind needs to be filled with things that are going in the right direction. And so when we say erase it and replace it, it's because that hole. So once we erase this phone, we take the phone off the table, there's a place for the phone, right? You have to fill it with positivity, right?
Yeah,
you never leave a hole empty or a stone unturned, you should say, right? Because you know how powerful those empty spaces can be and how easy it is for you to allow negativity to take over where that positivity was once.
Yeah, and sometimes with addictive behavior, sometimes we shift that addiction to another addiction. So you want to make sure that you replace that negativity with something positive, right?
Yep.
That's why in recovery, they want you to go to meetings. They want you to pick up the phone. They want you to get on your knees and pray, right? They don't want you to shift addiction to sex or gambling or anything else, right? Any kind of compulsive behavior. And another reason they want you to get in relationships because because you're compulsive behavior, right?
Yeah.
That's why it's very, very important. I'm glad you brought that up. Hmm?
Yeah, everything is habitual,
Yes.
right? And you can create a habit of continuously replacing negativity with negativity and
Yeah.
think you're going in the right direction, when in fact you're not. So yeah, that's what I wanted to mention, because this one it's so, like, you touched on it so easily. You have to fill that space with positivity. You have this, how that is discipline, and the exact discipline you need to create your mind, excuse me, to go in the right direction. What we say about your mind going in the right direction means your life will go in the right direction.
But you know what else, Faith? Sometimes as we grow in our recovery, as we grow in healing, sometimes we don't know what that feels like or looks like. So we have to continue to allow that to be. Sometimes it might be uncomfortable to be by yourself, be alone, right? So sometimes we have to allow that to happen, right?
Yeah.
Allow that
Yeah.
that sometimes you think that that space is empty, but it's really not. You know, it's just not. It's something different than
What you
you
want.
used to fill it with. You
Right.
think going right into another relationship, or even working out. Compulsive is going out and working out, overworking out, right? It's not necessarily the healthiest thing to do, even though you think it's positive. But if you don't find a balance with it, you become obsessed with it, right? So, you know, I think a lot of it is finding a balance.
Yes.
Right?
Agreed. Okay.
That was good.
People ask to be transparent, but they don't like transparency. Let me get this to go along our bottom so people can see it. Let me take it down. But do we even know what transparency is? Because I feel, and as everyone, we love people to, look through this. But it's not easy to be transparent, one. So as we're reflecting, people ask to be transparent, but they don't like transparency. And that's why I said, let's define transparency. I feel transparency for me is a clear view or voice of whatever it is that needs to be said. No distractions, no softness, no, hardness, no bumper words, no. It's directly what needs to be said or what needs to be done to better the person or for what the person needs to hear. To me, that's what transparency is. And that right there, people will consider being an a-hole. Not a lot of people like that. People, we as coaches, right? Let's think about this. As a coach, think about how often you were told it's your delivery that matters the most. But sometimes that can be misconstrued of changing the actual truth and what needs to be said to a completely different thing and a runaround, and people don't get the main point. So when I say people ask to be transparent, yeah, everyone thinks that they're all, I can take it, right? How many times you heard people say, I can take it, I can take it, I can take whatever you say to me. Yeah, whatever. But not everybody always likes the actual thing they're having to take.
Which well, I like you said. So it's using a filter. What you just said doesn't mean that you have to be mean. By maintaining, being honest, you can have some tact too, right?
Let's be clear.
That's
you
it.
Have to be clear. You cannot, okay. But also, as the receiver, if you are not willing or ready to receive, you have to say that. Because that person can give you exactly what you need to hear. But if you're not in a space of reception, it's wasted time. Right? Have you ever not been in a space to receive something, and then years later you think of it and you're like, wow, that actually made sense. But at that time, think about how beneficial it would be for me to clear my mind of any misconceptions, of any, honestly, emotion, right? And allow what's being said to me to benefit me, right? To apply it. My life could have started better earlier than maybe 3 years or 3 months or 3 days, right? That's time you don't get back. Transparency isn't always easy. And people say, like I said, everyone thinks they can handle transparency. But transparency wouldn't make people feel that way, right? When I say transparency, people are like, Uh, here we go. Or right, let me. So if you ever hear, let me be transparent with you, Schaefer. You're like, huh?
Or you don't have any problem with that with me.
Right? No, I don't. But you know what I mean, like as soon as you hear that, you know, okay, it's not something good. But you'll be surprised. Sometimes transparency can be way easier to take than you think.
Faith, you basically, I'm about to hurt your feelings, and then you proceed on. But I get it. We have that kind of relationship. How about focusing on honesty when it comes to transparency? How
Yeah,
important is
that's
that?
what it is.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And one of the biggest things, like I said this earlier, every single time you come across somebody that's a mirror to yourself, right? So if someone's telling me something I don't want to hear, right? And I'm like, gosh, that is just that was so rude. That was just so I don't do that. I don't do this. I don't do that, right? And then you sit down and you think, if you allow yourself okay, what they said,
But
okay, how did that make me feel? It made me feel defensive. Okay.
yeah.
Why am I defensive? Why am I defensive? Because I know that it's true, right? Or maybe I'm defensive because, gosh, I don't like when people tell me what to do, right? That's a whole other thing, right? And those are ways for you to target how to be a better you. Transparency is beyond just telling you hey, here's the truth. This is what you need to do, right? It's also taking it a step further and saying, how did that make me feel being told what to do? Or them telling me the truth about myself, right? Is it that I'm embarrassed? Am I defensive? Am I ashamed? There's a lot of things that come with that. That's why, I mean, transparency it doesn't always have to be negative, right? We all receive feedback differently. We all do. No one's perfect at it, but we all do. But we have the gift individually of something that no other person has, and that's our own mind. And no brain is the same, right? So the way I think is different than the way you think. And so my benefit and my gift, I should say, is the ability to be able to think to myself and say, wow, how did that make me feel? Why did it make me feel that way? And how can I be a better me for me?
Well, let's talk about emotional transparency. Then you have to have obviously a level of vulnerability and trust there,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
You know,
Yep. And you just remind me something. You know, not everybody needs your advice. Right? The giver, it's not always necessary.
right.
Right? Sometimes unsolicited advice is not needed. And that's why it's called unsolicited. Right? And that's why one thing that you can do as the person giving the transparent information, are you able to receive feedback right now? Are you in a space where I can tell you something I've been thinking that might help you? And if the person is like, no, you don't know, you're not. Well, come to me when you are ready and we can communicate. Or, okay, sounds good. Because not a lot of people can do that, right? They're like, gosh, I can't stand that this person just won't change. They won't do this. They won't do that. If it was me, I would do this. Man, you don't know what that person's dealing with that day. Unsolicited advice is just that. Make sure you're asking for approval and permission before you give unsolicited advice. Right?
That's
That's a
huge.
big thing.
That's huge. So why does people do that? Feel that they need to do that? You think?
Everything's a mirror. Everything's a mirror. Right? So maybe that person has issues in their life, and I'm not saying they do. Maybe they have issues in their life that they're working through, and that very action that they're working through, they might think, oh gosh, I'm in such a good space of working at myself. I want to help others. So it could be innocent.
Right.
Right? It could be innocent, but you got to remember, people are working through things every single day. That's life. There's a trial and tribulation every single day. So giving people space, giving people grace, is a big deal. When I say grace, it's the space to forgive. It's a space to understand that they are a sinner, and they have their own relationship and journey with God that you do not know about, right? So your unsolicited advice may need to be solicited, right? You need to ask permission. And as the person receiving, you have to be extremely vulnerable and honest and say, I don't know if I can receive that today, but let's do a call tomorrow. Yeah.
I like the permission piece, right? I like the permission piece.
Yep. No, I love it. Great stuff. I mean, we've had three. Let's run through the review real quick. First one we had was don't let doubt have a seat on your couch. Preparation. How big is that? Get your mind going in the right direction, and your life will go in the right direction. It's bigger than mental strength, right? What to do with negative thoughts? Erase it and replace it with positivity and positivity only. And if you don't know the difference, ask CPR. People ask to be transparent, but they don't like transparency, right? And that's on both people. The person asking for transparency may need to ask for permission, right? Or be honest and vulnerable with what they can and cannot take. And if you are giving transparency, once again, ask for permission and make sure that person is a space where they can receive. So, good stuff. Wonderful show this morning. Thank you for joining us here at Faith Family Focus. We hope it was positive outlook on life, a boost. Obviously, today was all about, how you view life, your perspective. Each person is different. Each person has a different blueprint and a view on life. Again, this is Faith Family Focus. We're going to use our faith as a vehicle to heal and strengthen and sustain others on strengthening their own family core. And of course, our slogan.
Let go, let God, let go, let faith, let go, let love.
Everyone have a wonderful, wonderful Monday. We'll see you soon.